Welcome to the Mismatch. I'm Chris Vernon, and joining me as he does every Monday night from TheRinger.com is Kevin O'Connor, a.k.a. Kevin O'Bomber, Kevin O'Concert, Kevin O'Climber, Kevin O'Camera, Kevin O'Conflict, Kevin O'Candyland, Kevin O'Blazarian, Kevin O'Sphere, Kevin!
Verno! How are you doing today, man?
Good. I thought of you this past weekend. I went to St. Louis and went to a baseball game. I took my son, and when you're walking around the stadium, there's ads everywhere for a big concert that's going to be going on. I think it's Billy Joel and Sting. And the participants are not that that's not why I'm talking about this. Though that does sound like it probably be a great concert. But I was thinking to myself, nope. Can't see a concert in a baseball stadium. Kevin just told me. Now, maybe Busch Stadium in St. Louis would be better than Fenway, but it was the first thing that ran through my mind as I saw these ads everywhere. I was like, oh, man, of all the places, I'd love to go see Billy Joel and Sting, but I don't know if I want to see him outdoors at a baseball stadium.
Yeah, see him at like Madison Square Garden in New York. That's where I want to see Billy Joel, is like in one of the New York venues. Home for him. Like that's where he's always playing his biggest and best shows.
It's one of the first concerts I ever went to as a kid.
Billy Joel.
Yeah.
In New York.
No, in St. Louis.
Okay. I see. Not at a baseball stadium though.
It was in an arena, like whatever the Kiel Center is what it was called at the time.
Okay.
But yeah.
I see.
It was like one of the very few I can remember my whole family going. It was like a family affair. It was my mom, my dad, my sister, and me. And we all went to Billy Joel. And he was amazing. Amazing.
My first two shows were Pink Floyd's bass player Roger Waters at TD Garden in Boston. And then my dad and I drove up to New Hampshire for this Hendrix tribute show, Experience Hendrix. And it had like former members of the band, like it was Mitch Mitchell, drummer. I think Buddy Miles was maybe alive at the time. I'm forgetting exactly if he were there, but it was him and like a bunch of amazing guitarists, like Kenny Wayne Shepherd and like Eric Gales, and it was like the loudest show that I ever went to in a way that was like damaging probably to my ears long term. And I wish I was smart enough at the time to wear hearing plugs. Because it was like for days ringing in my ears after that show. But it was still one of the better shows I've ever been to, and a proper tribute to Jimmy. And by the way, I bring all that up to say, I don't know if they're coming through Memphis, but they are still doing those Experience Hendrix tours. And I noticed that they're doing another one with tickets on sale pretty soon. And I want to go. I haven't been, I think, since that one, or maybe one after that with my dad many, many years ago. So I think I'd like to go to another one of those. It's like a lot of great guitarists on set. No surviving members of the band, though, anymore, unfortunately, that played with Jimmy.
Well, we're certainly on top of everything that we've been going through concert-wise over the summer. But there is basketball going on. The Olympics are going on, and we got a chance to see Team USA versus Serbia over the weekend. The story from the game, this was fascinating because watching the game play out amongst my friends when on our group text, it was all about Durant. We were just going absolutely bonkers over Durant. Durant had not played in a 5-on-5 game, they said, since April. He's had this calf injury. He hasn't been a part of things. He was on the bench. Game starts out. I'm texting them, is Jokic just going to do this? Is he just going to, like, backdoor pass the United States and kick out the threes? Like, is it not going to matter that he doesn't have Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon, and the rest? Like, you could just put this guy with anybody, because we have got literally Hall of Famers all over the place that are against him now. And he does not have Hall of Famers. And yet, for those first, 5-6 minutes, that's what's running through my mind. Oh, my God, is this guy just so overwhelmingly awesome you could throw anybody with him? And then Kevin Durant came in, and it was like, you just brought a superhero off the bench. That was the absolute best of Durant. Like the 5 of 5 from 3, hitting it with guys in the face. Like he comes off the bench, he couldn't miss. He ends up having 23 points in 17 minutes in the game. And every time he came in, it was like, this guy is the best player on the floor. And Meanwhile, LeBron's playing great. You've got point of attack defense. You've got they're rotating the bigs on, well, really anybody outside of Joel Embiid, who he pulled the hook on early. So I did forget that. So it became goofing on Embiid. It became lauding Joker. And then it became Durant and LeBron. And that was all the conversation amongst my group. And then the game gets done, and all anybody's talking about is Jayson Tatum not playing.
Isn't that funny how that happens? Like, it just becomes all Tatum doesn't play talk, even though Team USA played better than they did in any of the exhibition games. Kevin Durant was absolutely magnificent. And LeBron James turned back the clock on multiple occasions. And Stephen Curry had that amazing kind of turnaround three, no-look three in the first half. Like, Team USA played better than they have in the whole past month.
Curry even had the exclamation point at the buzzer of the game.
Yes. Yep.
And it was like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't experiencing, I think, I wasn't on social media. And so I wasn't experiencing anything in real time. So I didn't even care.
Yeah, because it's Team USA. Of course, a great player is going to get a DNP.
It just never even dawned on me. And then watching it afterwards, it's like and true to it, on social media, on then ESPN this morning, you got Kendrick Perkins killing him. You've saying he was humiliated and embarrassed, and you have Brian Windhorst trying to say, like, here's why he didn't play. Then you have Stephen A. Smith put up a video just going bonkers about it, calling it BS. And I'm like, what is going on? It was the weirdest thing to experience, not because usually I'm kind of like in the moment with everybody, but I wasn't really in the moment. And I was just thinking, my God, LeBron was awesome. He's controlling everything. He may have a triple-double. Durant's out of his mind. I love Noah Eagle, the play-by-play guy.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's
a
great.
Star.
He really
Noah.
is.
Noah
he really
Eagle's,
is.
So incredible as a broadcaster. By the way, credit to him for just A+ pronunciation, at least from a silly American's perspective on all the Serbian names.
Yeah.
Seemed like he did. He was well studied. Did a great
I think
job.
He's really good.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He really is. I love Noah Eagle. And Wade had a couple of like too many repetitive lines, but I thought other than the repetitive lines, like, he was good. Wade was good. Other than that, too much mentions of Bam. Too many,
too many he hims.
He hims. Too many of that. Too many Bam full first name jokes. But other than that, I thought Wade brought humor and analysis. And with Noah Eagle, I think that's something for NBC to think about. But I don't know if Wade would want to do it because Wade is, on to bigger and better things.
Right. Anyways, experiencing all of that in real time, thinking about the announcer, Noah Eagle, thinking about Durant and LeBron and even Drew Holiday, a madman on the ball. And it's like, I was just so impressed with Team USA. I thought they were so fantastic. They ran off in that second half. And then I guess in true, NBA culture form, it's like, oh my God, this is all about Jayson Tatum. And so, after I'm taking this in after the fact, hear me out on this, Kevin. Tell me what you think. I was listening to, on my drive back, I listened to Bill Simmons and Derek Thompson. They did their Future of Everything pod.
Yeah, that was a fun episode.
And one of the things they were talking about was conspiracy theories and about how we're, everything is a conspiracy now, and everything is.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say. Whatever. I know you could say it, but I know what you're gonna say.
Okay. So, anyways, that was in my head, and I was like, man, am I just playing into this, or do I really believe this? And I don't. You had Grant Hill go on Dan Patrick and say it's a conspiracy theory that Jaylen Brown thinks that Nike doesn't have him on the team, right? And then he goes on to explain The reason we did it this way is because Kevin Durant was out, and then we had other guys out, i.e. Kawhi Leonard, and because we took the centers that we did, we're playing in practice. We've got AD and Bam out there. We've got AD and Bam playing together in these games, and we realize this is a great pairing and one of our best defensive pairings, and these guys can play together. And so then we're thinking of a log jam at 4. And so if now Kawhi is out, well, if we think AD and Bam can play together, then we don't want to add in another 3-4. Everybody can talk positionless, how much ever they want, but we don't want to add 3-4. We would rather add another point of attack defensive guy. We've already got a great point of attack defensive guy, probably the best in the world in Drew Holiday. The second best in the world is probably Derrick White.
And it made perfect sense to do, Chris. It did.
And we wanted
Derrick
a
White
guard.
was the right choice.
Right.
It was the right choice from a team-building perspective.
And we
Derrick
wanted a
White
guard.
is a fantastic basketball player.
So we've got this lead up to Team USA, and every damn headline is about Jaylen Brown, the Finals MVP, not being on the team.
Yeah.
It's all about Jaylen Brown. It's about Jaylen Brown and Nike. It's about Jaylen Brown's tweets. It's about Grant Hill saying this is a conspiracy theory. It's about Jaylen Brown responding to Grant Hill saying it's a conspiracy theory. And then we get to the game.
What did Jaylen Brown say? He's like, you can't call me a conspiracy theorist. I've been the vice president since I was 21 years old.
Right. So
it's like,
then,
what? You can say whatever. So
then you fast forward to the game, and they don't play Tatum. They don't play Tatum. So now it's like, hey, they're not even playing Tatum. All the Brown stuff goes away. All of it goes away. Nobody's talking about, because honestly, if Jaylen Brown would have been there, what? I mean, Jayson Tatum didn't even play. You think Jaylen Brown would have played? And Derrick White plays, and he plays a bunch. And he was the replacement for Jaylen Brown. So if I were going to make all the Jaylen Brown headlines go away and no one talk about Jaylen Brown not being on Team USA anymore, number one, I would win. That's the first thing, because nobody's going to care as long as you win, right? Number two, I would play Derrick White. And number three, I wouldn't play Jayson Tatum. So, is that a kooky conspiracy? Or do you think, I'm telling you, every headline around Team USA was about that stupid Jaylen Brown thing. It really was. And if you don't play now, what's everybody talking about?
You know
Jayson
what else
Tatum
it could
not
have been?
playing?
Conspiracy number 2. Steve Kerr, we know he's friendly with Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons on one of his more recent podcasts said Tatum should be running point. You think Steve Kerr could have just been trolling his buddy Bill Simmons?
Well, and then the weird thing was Steve Kerr coming out after the game and just like being deeply apologetic.
I know. Well, the Steve Kerr apology, that's why I don't think any of it is, conspiracy. I think he was just going with the 10 guys he thought were best suited for that matchup. And they all played well. They played better than they did throughout the whole past month.
Do you care that Jayson Tatum didn't play? I mean, I couldn't care less as long as they win.
I couldn't care less either at all. It makes that's completely non-factor to me. It's all about matchups. The team played well. The team looked like it fit. There will be a moment for Tatum. Kerr said he'll play Wednesday. I'm sure he will, and he'll probably play well. But the reason why they got Derrick White, the reason why they're playing Drew Holiday is because they have these like high-end elite role players, because those guys are elite shooters, elite movers without the ball, elite defenders. They fill the gaps next to a Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards and LeBron James, so on and so forth. That's why those guys are on the roster. That's why they picked them over Brown. That's why they played him over Tatum in the first game. That's why they played over Halliburton, who's an inferior defender compared to those guys, who's not as much of a mover without the ball, has not proven it for Team USA yet. So I think for those guys, look, dude, Tatum is going to be a fixture of Team USA moving forward. And the Olympics in LA in 2028, Tatum will probably be a starter on that team. Maybe LeBron's not part of it. Maybe KD's not part of it. Maybe, Steph might not be part of it in 2028 for that matter. It's going to be a new generation. That's what makes this roster so interesting. Like, it's a lot of future gen guys for the Olympics and also a lot of, past gen guys that were part of, teams, 16 years ago. So I think for Tatum, it's just one game and he'll probably play Wednesday. Will he play more than 20 minutes? Yeah, I think so.
But it was this whole, like, it was almost like worried about his feelings.
Yeah,
and like Kendrick Perkins is using the words disrespected and embarrassed him.
Yeah, I heard Tim Legler said that on the All NBA podcast with Adam Mares.
He said that as well?
Yeah, Tim Legler said it was disrespectful to Tatum. And that's Tim Legler. So, I mean, like, I think it's ridiculous. I think
they win.
I think it's
again. I've always bitched about who plays if you don't win.
Yeah, I think it's on Tatum to continue playing his role. If that means being a cheerleader off the bench, like Halliburton was in that entire game against Serbia, well, then that's your role when you're playing on a team of future Hall of Famers and All-Stars and All-NBA guys. Every matchup's going to be different, and Tatum's going to get his chance to play. It's just a matter of then who else gets benched, because you can't play 11 guys or 12 guys. Somebody great is getting benched at some point.
Well, Joel Embiid got benched.
Well, Joel Embiid, that's where it's really interesting with the Tatum stuff. Not only did it overshadow the Jaylen Brown conspiracy theorist stuff, it also overshadowed the fact that Joel Embiid, after making some progress later in the exhibitions, he really struggled again. He got punked by Jokic, and he looked sluggish. The ball did not move as well with him on the floor on offense. They looked more dynamic defensively without him. It was pretty much as soon as he got subbed out of the game in both halves. So I think with Embiid, that is the thing to really monitor for USA moving forward in the Olympics. But, ultimately, Chris, I still think whether Embiid is, fantastic or not, I still think USA is going to win gold.
And you do
I'd be
wonder
surprised
about,
if they lose.
Yeah, I watched some of these guys. Obviously, Tatum hit his apex by winning the championship this past year.
Well, the apex in terms of team accomplishment,
but
he's
team
still
accomplishment.
Individually, people are still questioning. Like, he wins finals MVP, he wins the finals, but he doesn't win finals MVP. And they kind of win the finals. He has like the
lowest field goal percentage of any finals player ever.
So he's still being questioned after doing that. By the way, real quick, speaking of,
people care deeply about Jayson Tatum's feelings.
I know, it's ridiculous. But speaking of former finals MVPs, Jokic in that game, how crazy is it that they played even in the 31 minutes that Jokic was on the floor, and then the 9 minutes he's off the floor, they get outscored by 26 points. He's incredible.
Now, Mike Malone's somewhere going, now you see. You see. I can't take this dude off the court for 5 minutes.
I think it was the Rights to Ricky Sanchez, which is the only Sixers podcast account on X, posted how what are they trying to do? Inflate Jokic's on-off stats again, just like Denver with no backup center. That's so good.
You do wonder about some of these guys that are like hitting they're kind of like in their prime years, and which of those other guys could possibly even be taking even another step towards, maybe not even statistically, but towards more greatness, whether it is a Bam Adebayo, whether it is a Devin Booker, because those are kind of like those second tier. They're not the older group. They're not LeBron. They're not Durant. They're not Curry. They're not that group. But, I mean, you see Booker in there. Like, there is kind of that middle tier of guys, right, that are at some point they are going to be those guys that are at the very top, and Edwards as well, right? Like, I mean, it's going to be fun to see some of these guys on the younger side of things, more in their mid to upper 20s rather than their 30s, and kind of what steps they take after just being a part of all of this, because this is a serious collection of talent.
Yeah, it's amazing,
and you're just getting to learn. You're getting to see Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and LeBron James and like all the great, like, they've got all of them together. And if you're somebody like Anthony Edwards, obviously you think you're better than all of them, but you also can take the opportunity to soak it all up and see like this is what greatness and longevity and greatness truly is, because it's shocking how great LeBron and Durant still are.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's pretty remarkable what those guys are still able to do. Some of the transition buckets LeBron had, the one where he flexed afterwards, and like the last KD bucket, I think it was in the first quarter, like that right baseline kind of spin turnaround. How are these guys still doing this at this stage of their careers?
The crazy thing is, go flip on a 92 Dream Team video every once in a while and see what Bird and Magic and those guys look like.
Sure.
Like, it's just not.
Yeah.
It's not even comparable.
And not to mention.
And they're younger.
Well, and Steph is 36.
I know.
He's getting up there in age, too. It's not like Steph is young at all.
Right.
Like, these guys are. KD's going to be 36 next season. He's 35 right now. Obviously, LeBron, he's going to turn 40 in December. I mean, like I always say it, don't take LeBron James for granted, but also don't take Kevin Durant for granted. Don't take Stephen Curry for granted. Like, these guys doing this at this stage of their careers is pretty special. And I think, like, we talk about aging players, this is the generation where we have the most high level old players. It's like Bill Simmons said in a podcast earlier this year. He said it's the 4 generations currently in the NBA, where this is the first time that's ever happened, with 4 generations of stars all in the league at one time, still performing at a really high level. And I do think there's been a little bit of a changing of the guard in terms of the teams that are contending for championships, but that's not Steph's fault necessarily. You know, that the Warriors have slipped since 2022. It's not necessarily LeBron's fault that they've slipped since 2020. It's like or KD's fault that, you know, he's picked the wrong teams. You can blame him for picking the wrong teams, but these guys individually, as my point is, are still elite level players. They still are individually. So we'll see if they can get back. I still wonder if at some point we'll see old man Avengers, as you called it earlier this year. I wonder if we'll still see that somewhere. I feel like these guys something's got to be brewing. Right?
You do wonder.
Right? Something.
I know this. They've got obviously the 12 NBA guys. We're going to see how this all plays out in terms of who they're going to be playing, but they've got 12. Canada's got 10. Australia's got 8. France has 5. And France has been fun as a host city because not only are there are tons of like American fans there in the crowd. You see how many people were there supporting Team USA, famous people and non-famous people. Obviously, a lot of people watching the Olympics there. The French crowd booing Embiid for playing on Team USA was hilarious. And then just the Wemby reaction and him getting to play there. Now, of course, they silver medaled last time around, so they got a team. He had 19-9 against Brazil. And it's weird because they're still a really good team, France is, and they've got Rudy Gobert, and they've got Victor Wembanyama, and they've got some other NBA guys, Fournier, etc.
Batum had 19 points in that game against Brazil, too.
Yeah, and they played together.
Frankie Smokes, 9 points, if I remember correctly. Looking good.
I didn't even know he was still around. It was great to see him. Having those guys, you know, having their group and their group's been together a long time. And the other thing is this, you know, as I'm watching it, I go and look up and there's a bunch on the horizon for them because you've got this French team. And right now, the Olympics are in Paris, but 3 of the top 6 picks were French guys. You had Risacher, you had Sarr, you had Salon. None of them are on this team. You have Wemby, who was last year's number 1 pick. You have Koulibaly, who I think was the 8th pick last year. He is on this year's team, though neither of them played the World Championship. And then there's some more on the horizon, like the French team. We're going to look up, and it's weird because it's kind of a transition year with Wemby just being in his 2nd year, first time going through this. But, I mean, we're going to look up in 2028, And they are going to have a bunch of dudes on that team. And then we're going to look up in 2032 and Katie bar the door. Because, I mean, you're going to have a 27-year-old Victor Wembanyama. And then let's just say two of these guys pan out to be awesome out of the,
or not
six
even,
high
not even
drafted
awesome,
ones.
but just good. Just good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Because Victor's going to be that special, like with Jokic on Serbia, that he's going to be able to be surrounded by a bunch of guys and still play even with his minutes. If he's merely surrounded by, if Wemby, that is, by 5 Bogdanoviches like Jokic is with just one Bogdanovich, it would be a different story for Serbia if they had more guys of Bogdanovich's level. Victor's going to have that at minimum for France with the amount of talent coming through there right now. So I think for Victor, they're set up to, they're already a gold medal contender, but, with all this young talent, they're set up to be maybe the favorites in 2032. 2028, I mean, maybe a little early, but 2032, they feel like they could be the favorites.
Well, and you do have to think about those two guys. I got it. I read the article about how, they were young. We had to make the roster. We didn't really get to see them because the roster's due July 7th. And,
you mean
a lot of
rookies?
guys.
The rookies, you mean?
A lot of guys don't get,
I don't know.
play
who are
going.
they going to put off the team for them? They got a lot of veterans on that team.
If they were super awesome, they'd find a spot. That would be my point.
Yeah, that's fair.
If it's the last year, Victor didn't do it because it was the World Championship. But you don't think Victor Wembanyama would have played in the Paris Olympics if it was a year ago?
But he was great.
Of course he would.
But he was great enough for the team. He already was.
But that's what I'm saying. These guys were just drafted number 1 and number 2 overall.
Yeah, no,
Frank in the NBA.
Frank Ntilikina is pretty good.
Shut up.
Gershon Yabusele, you got to boot Gershon off the team.
This is the number 1 and number 2 pick in the draft. You can come up with every excuse in the world that they want, right, as to why they're not. I just wonder if it's a sign that they're not that good.
I mean, they're not yet.
I got it, but their own country didn't take them. And if they were amazing, they'd have found a way to make sure they're playing in the friggin' Paris Olympics. Are you kidding me?
The funny thing is...
The Olympics, you ain't ever getting to do that again.
The funny thing with Yabusele, he's been playing for Real Madrid the last 3 years. I was looking at his numbers while watching that France game. This season, Gershon Yabusele hit 44.5% of his threes.
Oh, you want him back.
Last year, 36% of his threes. The year before that, 40.2% of his threes. The year prior to that, 44% of his threes. So he's been
sniper
one year, yes, at 6'8", 260 pounds, an elite 3-point shooter for 4 straight years. I'm just saying, Gershon, 28 years old.
Hey,
maybe he gets an NBA contract at some point in the coming years.
Let me tell you something. I will walk over to my attic. I will start sifting through boxes of common cards, and I will sell you every Gershon Yabusele you want, Kevin. Let me go find my Yabuselis.
Oh, man.
They're somewhere.
I would love to see him get another chance in the NBA. Because you know how I'm not saying he'd be PJ Tucker, but with PJ Tucker, it's like there's the rookie year stats, and then a Basketball Reference, there's 5 years, did not play other league, did not play Greece, did not play Italy, it's all different leagues. And then it's boom, NBA, late 20s into his 30s every year since. Yep. I'm not saying Yabusele is going to be that, but it was just really cool if Gershon, of all people, he's such a fun player. He's fun with the Celtics his first 2 years in the NBA. It'd be cool if he had a similar story where he gets another chance and he comes back and he's an elite shooter at his size.
I am, with all these NBA players involved in this, I have found the basketball to be super fun to watch. I loved watching those World Championships last year. So the United States are going to be playing against South Sudan in the middle of the week. We'll get to talk about that later in the week. Couple NBA things that we did want to mention on the show today.
Real quick, Chris, before we get to that, just a note for our listeners. We're going to be doing some mailbag questions throughout the next month. So hit us at NBAmailbag@gmail.com with any questions. NBA related, non-NBA related, life related, whatever you want it to be, NBA mailbag at gmail.com. Because at some point the Olympics will be over. There won't be games to talk about. So we'll be doing that throughout the entire month of
during
August
the
and
summer.
September.
Always during the summer we get the opportunity to answer a bunch of questions. Team specific related, and we always get a bunch of good questions. So send those in. NBA mailbag at gmail.com. Man, Phoenix did great by getting Tyus Jones, Kevin.
Oh God, I love it. I love it so much, dude.
Man, when you ain't got any money, to be able to get a guy like that for $3 million, this is one of my favorite players / people I've ever covered. Got to know him very well in Memphis and the family, and just like consummate team guy, great locker room guy. Everybody loves him, and solid as a rock at one of the very few things that I can say about him is that I don't know how many guys in the NBA truly make the other guys on the court better. He, without question, makes his teammates better. Now, there's a limit to that. He can't very well make Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole better. Even though he played on that rat team last year and still led the league in assist-to-turnover ratio somehow.
Again,
that speaks to how good he is.
He's playing, just to put the numbers behind it, 7.3 assists per game to only 1 turnover.
Bro, he played for a team that doesn't run plays.
And the 1 turnover per game, a career high. Career high.
I'm telling you, I saw that Wizards team in person last year, and I shed a tear for Tyus. Yeah. I mean, I've seen more plays run by Lifetime Fitness guys. It was just nothing. And now, for $3 million, he goes, because the market obviously was not there for him. This is a guy that
it will be in 25 after this coming season. That's why he's betting on himself here.
And that's why you're doing this. You're betting on yourself. And fair is fair. Last year, I told you many times, I was like, I know the way that their owner talks about it. I know the way Frank Vogel talks about it. Oh, no. Well, we could do it by committee, and Devin Booker can be on the ball, and Brad Beal could be on the ball, and Kevin Durant could be on the ball. And I said, man, just get him a point guard and let him set these guys up, because these guys are devastating off the ball. And now he'll play and he'll start for that team. And I saw him in a system here with Taylor Jenkins, and I saw how great he was and started playoff games and helped them win playoff games and hit big shots in playoff games when Morant got hurt 2 years in a row, and saw what their record was with him. And that's playing for Taylor Jenkins, and Taylor Jenkins is a disciple of Budenholzer. And I think you are going to see a lot of what you saw when he was so awesome. He was the best backup point guard. And then for the time that he started, was a high-level starting point guard during that time in Memphis. And I do think you're going to see a lot of the same stuff being used with him in Phoenix, because Budenholzer's the coach now that I saw here. And I think he's going to do great there. I do. I think he's going to do great, and I think it's a great signing for them.
And one of the things that you saw him transform in Memphis, right? Like in Minnesota, one of his flaws was 3-point shooting. Early in his career with Memphis, 3-point shooting. But he became a knockdown guy his last couple of years with the Grizzlies. He shot over 40% for the first time in his career this past season with the Wizards. He's been a knockdown catch-and-shoot guy now for 3 straight years. So you're talking about setting up his teammates, limiting turnovers. That's all true with what he'll do for the Suns. But KD is still going to, be a guy handling the ball at end of games. Devin Booker still is going to be that. Tyus Jones has turned himself into a guy now in his late 20s that can hit that open catch and shoot 3-point shot when KD gets that double team. When Devin Booker comes off the screen, they send 2 at him. Tyus Jones can hit that shot now. So he's a perfect fit, I think, for all circumstances for the Suns on the offensive end. The question I'd have for you, though, is how do you think he fits in defensively at 6'1"? Is he good enough of like kind of a hustle guy? Like, what does he bring defensively?
He's positional. He's a positional defender, right? He's not Drew Holiday. He ain't locking anybody down. But he's also not going to get you destroyed.
Yes.
Right? Because he's going to play his position. He's going to play his role. There's a lot more guys that are the Tyus Jones. Yeah. And in fairness, there's a lot more guys that are the Tyus Jones level type defenders than there are the Drew Holiday type defenders, right?
For sure. Yes.
And I do think you could also, like most of these guys, you can cover for them, right? So now you put him on the guy that's standing in the corner. If De'Aaron Fox is just making mincemeat of you, now you put one of your bigger wings on him, and now you move him over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think he's a devastatingly bad defender.
I agree.
I think it's a super underrated signing for them. Amongst the mix of all the signings that take place, there's going to be a lot that get a lot more buzz. But I think an underrated signing. The guy gets what every team wants right now, and especially these Budenholzer teams, the paint touch. Get to the paint. Now he is amazing at hitting floaters or just kicking out. And the big thing about him is he is your old school point guard that gets the ball right where whoever wants it. He hits you in the shooting pocket. And if you're talking about a team that's got Devin Booker, Brad Beal, and Kevin Durant, you find a guard that can get you in the shooting pocket every time, you got problems on your hands. Like, I think that's going to be great for them. I do. Yeah, I think it makes them way better. I know that sounds crazy, but I really do. I think it makes them significantly better.
It's an absolutely perfect fit. It's a perfect fit for the Suns. It's a perfect fit for Tyus Jones because, you sign a 1-year deal without much of a market out there for you. If the Suns make a deep playoff run or even win it all, and you're a central part of that team, suddenly you're going to be making big money next offseason.
Oh, for sure. The other one was, you questioned it last week, Russell Westbrook's a Denver Nugget.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they actually did it. I mean, we saw it coming for a long time.
I think what they did is they looked and they saw his field goal percentage was better last year than James Harden's and thought, well, this guy O'Connor's always talking up James Harden, but weirdly, Russell Westbrook even had a higher field goal percentage than him. Let's just take Westbrook for $3 million because he makes 45% of his shots. Might as well.
Yeah, his field goal percentage was higher, but his true shooting percentage and his effective field goal percentage were significantly lower.
Those nerd stats. We're talking batting average over here.
Yeah. I think Nuggets fans are in for a total headache with this.
Oh, Westbrook's going to be amazing there. He's just going to dominate. Yeah. It's going to be great.
It's going to be a disaster.
No, he's never on bad teams. He wills them to victory. He had the rat Washington Wizards team winning.
Yep.
Unbelievably. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to see that Jokic Westbrook 2-man game. This is your nightmare.
I'm really
shout out to Calvin Booth from ahead of his time.
From removing my opinion of how I think it will work for Denver, forgetting that, as we talked about last week, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how this ends up looking. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of exciting plays. Russell Westbrook brings some energy that we haven't really seen off the bench from behind Jokic. They haven't had a type of guy like him at all. And no. But to me, I don't think you can talk about him as a Reggie Jackson replacement. Sure. Reggie Jackson's not good. It's a low bar. You can talk about him as a Bruce Brown replacement. Not happening. Bruce Brown is a far better defender, a better shooter, a better cutter, a better finisher. It's not even close.
Oh, stop. He left Jokic and went into witness protection. We didn't even see him last year. Is he even still alive? He went on the Jonathan Simmons plan.
Okay. So
Jonathan Simmons once was playing with the Spurs, and then he went to Orlando. We never heard his name again.
The number one concern for the Nuggets is Jamal Murray. Still, he's got that big contract extension coming up. He has not been great for months. Even in the first game for Canada against Greece, Jamal Murray did not look great. He comes into every season out of shape, gets himself into shape halfway through the year, and that can't happen anymore. You need to come in and shape.
They got Westbrook, bro. He was dancing on the stage with Kendrick Lamar. They not like us.
Yep. Yeah, they got Russ now. They don't need
All right.
Jamal Murray because they got Russ. Yep.
All right, let's last thing. Huge news on the TV contract. We kind of broached this last week. It is an 11-year, $76 billion deal. Mondays,
Crazy.
this is starting in 25-26. Mondays, Peacock is going to have a doubleheader every week. Tuesdays, NBC is going to have 2 games on regional affiliates. Wednesdays, ESPN's got a doubleheader. Thursday, Amazon's going to have primetime games after Thursday Night Football. Fridays, Amazon's going to have primetime doubleheaders. ESPN's also going to have some. Saturdays, ABC's going to have their primetime games still. Amazon's going to show games during the day. And then on Sunday night, after Sunday Night Football wraps up in January, they're going to do what I suppose will be Sunday Night Basketball, as they have
awesome.
the setup
they're doing
there.
that.
Yeah,
I had heard rumblings about that like 5 years ago about the NBA wanting to have a game after either Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, and it's happening. Like I'm stoked about it. I think it's going to be really cool.
This is going to be what they're going to do here is that prime time where everybody's kind of conditioned to watching Sunday Night Football. So when football ends off, so when we get to the spring, from what I gathered from reading the releases, it's going to be a Sunday night game. And it's going to be like the same time that the football game would have been. So you're already conditioned. It's not like they're going to be like a 9:30 game Central Time or something. It's going to be when you would usually watch games. So it'll be a 7 o'clock game on Sunday night. And they're going to have like a real, who knows who will be the studio show, but it'll be a real studio show. And it will be like an hour-long pregame about everything that happened in the NBA that week and whatnot.
Sick.
And then there's going to be a game. Now, the only thing is, from a fan perspective, I do get reading this and being like, well, hold on now. And this is annoying. You and I, because it's our livelihood, like, we got all this stuff and we're watching it all. But, like, so I have Amazon Prime, I have Peacock, I have ESPN. Like, none of this is on stuff that I don't already have. But if you're like an NBA fan, and you're trying to figure out like what you're going to do for your TV stuff, you are going to have to have, in order to watch all this, you're going to have NBC and Peacock. You're going to have Amazon and Prime. You're going to have ESPN. And then your local team is not part of that either. And now, there's all these regional rights. Like, I mean, look, Memphis is one of those cities that's in the middle of it too, where it's like, is Bally going to get out of bankruptcy? And is Bally still going to have this? And is Bally going to have, and it's like, whatever those are going to be named that are owned by your regional team. And then how are you getting that? Is that because you're subscribing to that, specifically? Or are you doing that because you've got DirecTV or cable or whatever? And that's how now I'm able to see my local team. And then on top of that, I'm buying League Pass. I mean, that's a lot of shit, Kev.
Yeah. Yep, it is.
You know what I mean? If you're a basketball fan and you're like, man, I want to see all these, I want to be able to see all this stuff. I mean, just off the top of my head, that's NBC, ESPN, Amazon Prime, whatever your regional's on, and then League Pass. That's 5 damn things I got to subscribe to.
Yeah, it becomes a lot more complicated for sure.
Yeah, just give me my damn cable back.
Well, I mean, that's what's going to be interesting also about, now the NBA Cup will be on Amazon.
Right.
So NBA Cup games will be, only on Amazon. Is that going to, is people going to sub just for that, and keep their subs? Well, it's a lot to figure out, but this is the day and age we live in now with streaming. So, like you said, a lot of people already have those apps. And
well, I'm not going to cry about it yet, but obviously it's devastating to think about not having inside the NBA. Let's just hope that somebody throws so much money at them that they land somewhere.
I think they'll try. I think one of those networks will try.
Because there's all this, Barkley says he's retiring. Ernie doesn't want to do it if it's not Turner. There's all that, I even read in Tim Bontemps' article, he mentioned some of that, and I was like, oh, bummer. But you never know. It's a year away. I'll tell you this, Adam Silver is going to be beside himself with all the jokes that Barkley gets off for this last season.
I know.
Brother. At least we get one more year, you know. But man, oh man, is there going to be a lot of basketball. I mean, if you're a basketball fan, in 2 years, there are going to be damn games every single night.
It's pretty cool. I'm very impressed by what they've put together. I am.
And how much money they got for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people around the league have always said it wasn't this TV contract that they were worried about. It's the next one that they're concerned about with what that total could be. Because this is the big test to see how streaming does and how profitable it is to Amazon, how much they want it again when rights are up. So got a lot of time before we talk about TV deals again. This is a long deal. But it's the next one that people are more concerned about.
Well, and the only thing I'm concerned about is Jayson Tatum's feelings, and I hope he gets to play against South Sudan.
I know.
Thoughts and prayers up. Thoughts and prayers up. Obviously, been a really tough time. I know he's had a lot of people come to his defense, even though Team USA won by 26 points. But there were some people that made some memes and some jokes at Jayson Tatum's expense on social media.
The memes were so good.
And that will never be forgotten.
They were so good.
Hey,
imagine that.
Conspiracy or not, it got everybody to stop talking about Jaylen Brown saying he wasn't there.
Yep.
And that Nike's the reason.
Good work by Steve Kerr and Team USA, killing the Celtics from within.
Now, and I've been told that the Celtics are going to put Derrick White on all of their banners going forward.
Yes, his face.
The new duo in town, and it's going to be Derrick White and Drew Holiday, arm in arm.
Holding their gold medals.
Yeah. And then just a frumpy Tatum in the back. And then, and then Jaylen Brown in the back, with a FUSA sign. What did Jaylen Brown will probably go show up playing for France?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the rules are exactly, but it seems you can kind of choose your own team.
Does seem that way. All right. Kevin, it's always a pleasure. We'll see how it plays out when they're playing a little bit later this week. Throw out that mailbag one more time so we can get some questions for Thursday.
Email us at nbamailbag@gmail.com. You can also just contact us on social media. Instagram is a little tougher, but on X, at Kevin O'Connor NBA and at Chris Vernon Show. Just, add us both or email us. Email's best, though, because we can sort through it all quite easily.
Thank you to our executive producer, Jesse Lopez, as always. And Kevin, I'll talk to you on Thursday.
I can't wait.